Hey guys, welcome to the Grey Escape. It's the bonus extras episode, the first ever bonus extras on the Grey Escape. I'll tell you all about it right after this. And this bonus extras episode is brought to you by TransferWise, a great company that you can use for all your international money transfer needs. If you go to transferwise.com/escape, you can get a free international money transfer for free, no fees, and the best currency conversion exchange rate you can find out there. So that's transferwise.com/escape. So here we are, the bonus extras, the inaugural episode featuring bonus extras. I could give a big intro to our guest, Crichton Miller, but I figure at this point, if you're here right now listening to this, you've probably already heard parts 1 and maybe even part 2 of Crichton's Hidden Knowledge episodes, and boy, were they juicy, right? That's why you're here right now. You love Crichton Miller and his information, and I don't blame you. We'll be getting to that in just a minute, but seeing as how what I'm basically introducing is a casual chat, I thought, you know what, let's have a casual chat as the intro, because I don't normally do this, so I wanted to go kind of like unplugged with my intro. So what's happening right now in my immediate life and surrounds in the news is I'm in the UK and there's a big deal happening. It's called Brexit. That's what they're calling it, like Brangelina, except it's political. It's Britain Exit is what it stands for. And it refers to Britain either leaving or remaining in the EU, the European Union. And I believe a decision like this has not been voted on since 1975, when the same exact decision was discussed and there was a vote, only that at that point they were called the EEC, the European Economic Community. And I'm not a political person, and I make no bones about it. I had to look that up. I had to look up when was the last referendum and what was Europe even calling itself at that point. So, but I wanted to try and be a little bit of an educated person and learn about Brexit. So I've been doing my homework on it, and it's really confusing. It's really, really confusing whether to stay or go. And I thought, oh, well, go sounds good because security is getting to be a big issue. But then you read a lot of stuff and it says, well, what that side's saying isn't true, and what that side's saying isn't true. Those facts aren't correct, and your brain just becomes mushy. But it's June 20th today, and this referendum is being voted on June 23rd. So by the time the next episode posts, we are going to know if Britain's in or if Britain's out. So it's interesting times. But there's been a horrible thing in the news here, and I'm quite upset about it. I know I have listeners all over the world because I see the map, and thank you for listening to my show wherever I happen to be recording. I love seeing those colored blotches show up on that map of the world. There's a connection there, and it's awesome. But in the UK, there was some nasty thing happened. Very, very nasty. A Labour MP, Member of Parliament, a lady called Jo Cox. She was 41 years old, and by all accounts was basically one of the nicest people you could meet. That's what everything is saying. She was married with 2 children, and she was, seemed to be doing everything by the book and just having a good life. And somebody killed her when she was about to do, her speech and, I guess, educational stuff. They call it a surgery. And this 52-year-old man killed her. This is very recent here, and it's very shocking. What's especially shocking is he killed her with a gun, and Britain doesn't have guns legally. We're not like the US. It's very horrible. He did it for political reasons, and his words while he was committing the crime was Britain first. This act has actually swayed the vote. Apparently, there's been a 3% difference now going towards Remain, because that's what Jo Cox was campaigning for herself. That's what she believed. So the thought of using death for political purposes, I mean, it so sickens me, literally vomitously sickens me. And the sad truth is we all know that that's what happens. And then this comes on the back of a shockingly controversial tragedy in the United States of Orlando, which there's just a lot of confusion about it. There's a lot of facts coming out that don't add up. You've got, like a shooter who had an IMDb profile. It was apparently an actor, but his credits were deleted, even though the profile was left up. I mean, really strange things, but I know there's a lot of grief happening in Orlando right now. And I know about grief. I know grief well. So I just wanted to say, for all of you in Orlando, or those who knew people, God, just the thought of it's just so horrible. And it brings back my own memories of loss of loved ones. And it is an acidic dousing, a corrosive attack of your soul and of your humanity. And it does heal. The scars are always there, but it heals. But the pain can be staggering, and I know that. So I just wanted to extend to all of those who've suffered a loss just how very sorry I am for what you're going through. Now, I am a person who believes that thoughts and words carry vibrations. And I know there's a lot of thoughts and words of love and of support from all over America and other places as well for the families who have lost people in this horrible tragedy. I hope you can feel some of that love. I'm sorry for crying, and at the same time, I'm not, because I'm a human being. And when crappy things happen, if you don't feel a loss, that to me is even more scary than if you do. So anyway, enough of that. I've said what I have to say on it. We're going to get on with our bonus extras. We have voiceover artist and comedian Jason Canning sat in on this. He joins in for the discussion unexpectedly. This whole thing is unexpected. This was after 2 episodes recorded, and we just kept on chatting, and I didn't know if it would be used or not. People are getting hungry in this recording, so I apologize in advance. You might hear some snacking. Again, I'm a human being. Yes, it might be me snacking. So here you go. It's raw, unfiltered, uncharted bonus extras featuring none other than author and researcher Crichton Miller.
From the 21st, and
Sure.
3 days it rises then. So have we adopted that as the death of the Son of Christ?
That's the message.
So we've adopted that, so we celebrate the death of the Son,
Yeah.
but
Why is that, though? Do you see that? This is the difficult
why
bit.
would we celebrate?
Because you never die. And because you are the son of the Son.
Right.
So we never did talk about that, did we? But the son of the Son, okay, is you are the son of your father and your mother. That is of the Word, the genetic seed that defines who you are. But you're also solar energy, so you are the Son. So you could be the son of the Son and the Son of God at the same time. And that's the message behind the Christ story. So when we spoke earlier on about spirits, nature spirits, spirit of seagull, spirit of oak tree, spirit of thing, then who is the highest form of the spirit of man as a collective whole? And that we would name as something, as being the Son of the Son, the Son of God, and the Son of mankind. That's the message.
So then Easter, when we are celebrating the resurrection, it's the resurrection of the Son.
Yes, but
and
also
its energy.
Yes, and also of ourselves.
And also of ourselves. Right.
Yeah. So I think it was John the Baptist, and they went to him and they said, "Art thou Elijah?" It was either Elijah or something like that. And he said, "No." But you see, the person they were referring to lived 1,000 years before. So they expect the return of the prophets and they expect the return of Christ because that's just part of the cycle as they saw it. They also said when he comes again, nobody will recognize him. So well, they wouldn't, would they? I mean, not in this day and age.
So what would they be really expecting then? Because they always say, oh, he'll be reincarnated in the return of Christ. And
that's really important because reincarnation means to come back in the flesh from incarnate,
Right.
being in the flesh. So to come back into flesh, the spirit form will come back into flesh.
So they're referring to a physical body, though. What
Well,
were they referring to?
somebody asked me that not long ago, and they were talking about Moses when he spoke to the burning bush. But like, who would expect to have a discussion with a burning bush these days?
Right.
You know, you'd just go, "That's freaky, man." Yeah. At the end of the day, the only language, if you speak one language, is English. Somebody's got to talk to you in English, wherever that voice comes from, wherever that motivation comes from, through you or through the person that's speaking to you. It's got to turn from a human mouth into words. So choose burning bush or somebody that's incarnated in human form. Logic, reason, and common sense. How, if there is a greater creature, a greater spirit, is that great spirit going to communicate with you except by words and image?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if I quite get the burning bush thing.
Well, Moses got instructions about burning bush. You know, it was a bush caught fire and God's voice came out of the burning bush. But what I'm thinking is that in modern times, I don't think a lot of people respond to a burning bush.
But they will respond to somebody in a physical form speaking
Yeah.
a language you understand.
They chuck water on a burning bush.
Yeah, that's right. You know, how does a highly intelligent creature communicate with people of lower intelligence? So how would a spirit that could make the leaves and make the plants and make living creatures talk to one of its creations?
Well, I wouldn't think setting itself on fire would be the first choice.
See my point?
Yeah. That is such a man-made story.
Oh,
Yeah.
right,
It's
okay.
so artificial to
Yeah.
get your attention.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I mean. It's got no credence to it at all because your logic is, well, I wouldn't do it through a burning bush.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd probably try and make a shape with my leaves and spell something.
This is how they said that Moses got the message from God through a burning bush. I mean, seriously. Of all the I mean, you could have a sheep talk to you and you'd think, all right, well, at least it's audible and it has got vocal cords.
Yeah. I mean, you'd turn it upside down and look from made in Hong Kong on the bottom, wouldn't you? Who made this?
Moses and the talking sheep.
Yeah.
But
How does?
a burning bush, not just
Yeah.
a bush would have been enough, but a burning bush.
yeah.
That God is sending you a message of fire and heat and torture, and I'm going to talk through it. Mental.
I love that.
It is a hard one to get your head around,
It's
the
like,
burning
why would
bush.
Who decided that's the way that I want this catalogued and written in a book for future people to read and understand? Let's have the bush burning.
Do you think they almost did it deliberately so that smart people would go, well, this is clearly completely fabricated. So obviously these people have been told not to put something in here.
Yeah, but you see, technologically, it's quite hard in those days for a bush to do that.
Yeah.
speak to you while it's burning.
I would think it'd be hard at any stage of our existence so far for a bush to start
Yeah,
talking
but you wouldn't be
to
too
you.
bothered if one out there once they caught fire. Spontaneous combustion, the voice came
That-
out.
I mean, I can-
Somebody's got a speaker in
I
the
can
middle
even
of that.
get behind a burning bush.
Yeah.
I can get behind
That it started to flame before
Yeah,
you.
spontaneous combustion.
Yeah,
Get behind
yeah,
all of that, especially
that's
in
it.
those temperatures.
But if it spoke to you,
But then talking,
You'd need a witness.
you would.
and I can even get behind the talking. I can. Whether it's
Yeah.
we're thinking again.
But would you listen?
Well, I probably would. If I heard something in my mind talking, we don't have to know that it's actually
Yeah,
audible
that's
to
right.
everyone.
He could
That's
have
right.
sensed messages.
Why on God's good earth would you put the bloody two together? Why would you have a bush
I love
burning
that.
and the talking?
See, difficult, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
The two separately I can get behind. Put them together, calm. It's really weird and it's so abstract. It's got to be human meddling. Because it's so abstract and weird. Like they had a meeting and said, right, what
We'll
is
have
the
a
weirdest thing
burning bush.
that we could have
Yeah.
that we can write down in this book
Yeah.
that will go, people will go, what? Oh my God, that was the voice of, yeah.
But what about the parting of the waters with Moses?
There you go,
Can you
you
get
see.
on board with that? I mean,
I can because I don't fully understand currents and things. And
Well, is this argument, is it the Dead Sea or was it the Reed Sea? And how did that happen? And then there was Santorini blew up, and was it a tidal wave? And
Yeah.
because that's true, you know.
Yeah,
that
you could
can
have had
happen.
an earthquake.
But the
and
timing
there'd
was
be a
perfect.
fracture
Right.
in the lake and it all pours in.
Yeah.
There's actually a water.
Well, it goes out, doesn't it? You
Yeah.
remember seeing the tsunami? It actually
Yes.
goes
yes,
out.
sucks the water.
that's
Yeah.
right. He could
And
have-
then you
right.
can walk across, and then it would come back again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
get the old pharaoh. So then you could say, well, that was just a natural occurrence. But hang on a minute, nature means God, from Netter.
Right.
So, yeah, God made that happen. God made that volcano go off at that time. And you got a blurring now of it, haven't you? You've got this blurring.
Yeah.
Who is God? Is God nature? Is God in control of things that happen in time? Is God capable of working out when something should happen, when the timing is right,
Yeah.
and making that trigger?
Because you speak to any Christian, that's their whole conversation. When you try and counter anything or question anything, God did that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but why would they do that? Oh, yeah, but God did that.
yeah, but change it. Say nature
Right.
did that.
Right, exactly.
Oh, there you go. Oh, well, that's acceptable.
nature did
Well, hang on
that.
a minute, but nature means God.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah,
See what I mean?
yeah,
Difficult,
yeah,
isn't it?
it is.
And all I'm trying to do is show how they measured time. Well, out of that came all of that.
Yeah.
I can see how they got their philosophy.
Oh, yeah, I do. I can see how
Yeah.
they took that power of measuring
Yeah.
time and the significance and the importance of it to basically control
Yeah,
people
yeah,
exactly how they wanted to.
yeah.
It's like now, if there was this one thing that everyone wanted, like for instance, if the guy who created the internet had not signed it away free of charge, he'd be the most powerful man on the planet.
Yeah,
Because
thank goodness.
everyone
It didn't.
wants the internet. You name me something on this planet other than food and water that everybody wants. It's not even a need now, it's I want it.
Gotta
It's
have
the
that.
internet.
Yeah.
And power. Look at Nikola Tesla and the supposed contract with Edison, where he would have been paid per either watt or volt, I don't remember, but he would have been the wealthiest man on the planet had that been
But if he still had the
honoured.
Too much
control,
power.
if he still had the control over who had the internet and who didn't,
I'll tell you that.
he'd be a god.
And I think about that, think about what I've known and stuff like that. And if I'd played that the bent way, think what I could have done.
Well, I guess the first thing you could do is go to the church and go, I'll reveal this unless you pay me tons
Well, you could
of
do
money.
anything, couldn't you? And you could get people following you as a false prophet. And I'm not. At the end of the day, do you remember that dark thing you were looking at? That's in me too. I ain't letting it have anywhere near. I know that I'm out of here within the next 40, 30, 20 years. What's the point? We all have to eat, but you can only wear one pair of shoes at a time and eat one meal. It was the Dalai Lama. He said it, wasn't it? He said, "What is the pursuit of happiness, and how do you know you're happy?" And the answer to it was, if you want to judge what happiness and unhappiness is, imagine sitting down with your friends and your family for dinner. Would you be happy? Yeah, you would. Unless you had to eat it non-stop for 1,000 years with them. Would you be happy? You go off your chump, you go nut, you go mad. Because we need change. And so actually it's the pursuit of happiness that's important, not
happiness.
Yes.
Because you find, let's say you get that Ferrari that you always wanted.
Yeah,
you're
just
happy.
a bloody Ferrari after
That's
that.
all you're going to drive now for the rest of your life. Would you be happy with that in a year?
No.
I guarantee you wouldn't be happy with it in 6 months.
There you go. That's true.
Not that I've ever owned a Ferrari, but I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, it's just another car, though.
Yeah.
It's like people like my Range Rover. Yeah, I got that because I could and because Joyce likes it.
Yeah.
But once I'd had it 6 months, just another car.
Yeah. If it's normal, then it's normal. That's what I get into.
Just normal car.
Yeah.
Well, the journey is the way.
Yeah.
The journey is the way.
The journey is the way.
The pursuit of happiness.
But do you know what the way is? When you say that I am the way and the life, follow the path, the way. It's actually the zodiac.
Direction.
That's
the way.
Zodiac.
Because again, the word navigational, the way, and philosophical, the way of life.
Yeah, absolutely. So we didn't do this, but
I'm still recording now, just so you know.
Oh, right. Okay. So Jesus said, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. Do you understand that they kept time with the signs as told in Genesis, instructed in Genesis 14, that they kept the time with the constellations called the signs? You then can't understand what is, if you don't know this, you can't understand what he means by in my Father's house. You see, house is an astrological term. In my Father's house there are many mansions. Mansions is a flat. And I'll go and make a place for you. So he's saying, I will make a place for you somewhere in the future, in my Father's house, in time.
Does that actually mean you'll be reborn?
Yeah. So he said, go out and find a water bearer and tell him to make a place for me, or for us, that we would sit round the table. We have to know that men in that time, they didn't carry water, that women did that. Men wouldn't ever carry water. So we can see that as an astrological sign. So he says, make a place, make a table, lay a table for us, for his disciples, in the age of Aquarius. Well, we're not there yet. So what we're talking about is the prophetic way of working with time in temples, churches, but the people who kept the time and understood how it worked from their point of view. We don't have that now. We've lost that. Because we take time for granted.
Yeah, we do.
Think about time.
Yeah.
If we didn't have iPhones and stuff, we wouldn't even be looking at time.
No.
Because again, it's not life critical for us to know time, because we go to a shop at any time of the day to get food.
But you can say that, but it is to the people that know.
Right.
Okay, so the people that know that time is cyclical and is like a waveform, like your pool of water, those that know, they're the ones that gamble the stock market, property, futures. They know what goes up and that it will go down. They know that the politicians can't promise continuous growth because nothing grows forever. It always goes up and then comes down, like an oak tree, like you, like me, like the clouds, like the sun. It dies in the winter and comes back in the spring. It's cyclical. And the whole nature of what we live in is cyclical. So those with the knowledge will go, well, I'll tell you what, I'll buy on the stock market when it's down because it always goes up, and I'll sell it before it gets to the top because it always goes down.
So is that when they were over lending on banks, certain people
they do.
knew
Yeah, of course.
that this is a huge rapid growth and
Yeah.
it's going to plummet just as quick?
Yes, and they understood the nature of time, which is a war between order and chaos. And it's expressed around the Celtic cross by an interweaving set of sine waves. Now, you could say, well, where's that sine wave come from? The sin sign. Well, it comes from the moon, because the moon is sinuous. It rises above and below the ecliptic plane over a period of 18 and a half years. And so they then put around the circle on the cross the interweaving changes of order and chaos, and that's what that means. So you take that back to modern day and say, well, that's exactly what the stock market does. That's exactly what property prices do. That's what oil prices do. If you don't get your timing right, you're going to lose money. You're going to be one of the mugs that puts money in the hands of the people that do know what they're doing.
Wow.
Yeah? And that is an exclusive trade that they will not teach you unless you're part of the guild.
So do you mean if you were in the guild, you could predict that sort of thing, like
Sure.
financial
Absolutely.
currencies and
Yes,
crashes?
They call it algorithms or something.
Algorithms.
That's the word.
Well, surely though, if you base it on that thing of everything peaks and dies, then surely you'd just be, your algorithm would be looking at peaks.
Yeah.
And once you see something peaking, you think, okay, well, there'll be a plateau maybe, or continuous growth.
Yeah,
at
but
some
there
point.
can't be continuous growth.
No.
And that's what's going on with human race. As we grow more and more and more human beings on Earth and take up other kinds of life forms and space and so forth, that can't grow forever.
No, it
So it
can't.
has to go down, just like the owls and the rabbits concept in
Yeah,
mathematics.
it's like beef production.
Sure.
It cannot, this planet cannot sustain the
Yeah.
growth of the beef industry.
No, so then you look around at nature and you know that we're at war with nature because nature's going to send along some kind of disease or something
Yeah.
which we're fighting against. Hang on a minute, didn't we say nature is the ancient word for God?
Right.
So nature will send along something, even if it's ourselves that kill ourselves or some disease or something like that terrible Ebola crisis,
Yeah.
right? And our population will go down.
Yep. Nature will protect itself.
Yes, because nature's the whole planet, not
Yeah.
just humanity.
Yeah.
And if you don't work with it, it's going to get you in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it will. It will protect itself. It has to.
Yeah, has to, because it's an organism.
Right. Far cleverer than we ever
Yeah,
can
well,
be.
we've
As
got
you
it.
say, come
Yeah.
back to, we cannot make a leaf.
Well, look at us, but we've still got antibodies in us that fight things to protect our system, our organism, our individual one.
Yeah.
So why would it not have? Well, it does. We're testing it right now. But what can we do about that? Nothing really.
No.
Because who's going to say, well, I ain't going to have kids like the Chinese? And then they find out there's oh, hang on a minute, there's a shortage of girls. And, you know,
Right.
oh, right, you can have two now.
Yeah.
So, you know, life goes on and we have to face what we face.
And the price of beef
Sure.
just go up and up.
But as you get more and more fragile instruments and stuff like that that relies on GPS, global positioning systems, and computers and things, it becomes more delicate, more fragile, it can break, okay? Have you forgotten the roots of how to measure your position on the Earth, what time it is from the stars? Have you forgotten that so that you are completely ruined?
Yeah.
Or could you go back to it if you had to?
Yeah. We'll be completely ruined.
Do you think?
I think so. Well, I'm making sure I've got your address. Not even your mobile phone.
You won't be
That'll
able to get
fun.
me. Right,
Need
no,
to know
that's it. No
where to
mobile,
find you.
no internet.
Right. I know I can row a boat.
Buy the book, folks.
Yeah, seriously. It's
Shows you how to make it.
It's the Bear Grylls of survival.
It is.
Yeah.
It is the Bear
Bear
Grylls of
would be
survival.
screwed.
Yes, it would.
He'd know what to eat, but not when
Yeah.
and where.
But if you don't know where the stars are and how the moon works,
Exactly.
and you can't make an instrument to measure it, you're
You are
out of here, man.
yes, you are signing off.
Yeah.
Just playing devil's advocate, because you made such a point of saying there's no past. These people in this guild that can predict things, technically then, how are they predicting things? Because they can't look at what's happened because it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, they got records of it.
Yeah, they got
Like you've got
Okay.
records in
All
your
right.
mind.
All right.
The trick is not to confuse your memory, which is for survival and learning, with reality.
Okay.
So folk that are going on about something their boyfriend said or girlfriend said 20 years ago that ruined their lives, what's the point of that? You can't change it. Move on.
Right.
But
Got
use
it.
the information you've learned to move on.
Don't date that kind of guy.
you can
but
have-
hey,
yeah,
but
right.
don't swing too far the other way and
Yeah.
do the cycle so it becomes dangerous to you because you swung too far.
Right.
Right? Get in the middle somewhere. Straight in the middle, balanced.
Like the plumb line,
Yes.
balanced.
Neither too creative nor too destructive. Don't wipe away the pyramids and the Bible and Tesla's work and stuff. Don't just get rid of it, okay? But learn from it. What can you use? What would make life better for me, for mine, for my family, for my community, for my country? What would make it better? What do we need to do? Well, I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to stop all the floods by planting more trees.
Yeah.
You know, trees soak it up.
Yeah.
Foliage gets a balance. Make it beautiful around you.
Yeah. Plant a tree.
Yeah, plant a tree.
Yeah.
Grow a garden, because there's lots of lessons in
Yeah, I
growing
think it
a
was
garden.
a great gardener, wasn't it, who believed in that. And a lot of the Freemasons do. Capability Brown, when asked, why would you plant all these tiny trees and everything in this great landscape when you won't see it? Well, he says, of course I will.
On his next time around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many lessons
How
there.
many times we come round?
Until you go out, until you no longer need to be part of this material thing, until you become a superior creature, which is just pure intellectual energy.
And then do we go back up to?
The whole universe.
Maybe
is
you go
yours.
to my energy grid in space.
Maybe you become a star like the sun.
Maybe
That's
you're
what
an
blows-
energy
that's
ball.
What truly blows my mind is when I try to start to get my head around the size of the universe,
Yeah.
of the galaxy.
Hey, but listen, what a fabulous word.
Uni
Say it. The uni one
and
song.
verse.
Got it.
Verse.
Yeah.
One
One.
song. And a verse is even just a part of a
There you
song.
go. We're all part of the song.
I mean, we really. That's when things get into perspective.
Yeah. You're all part of the universe.
We're one.
Now,
Yeah.
if I can relay that thought to Bucks, South Bucks District Council, my mortgage lender, and Eon Electric, if I can just convey, look, this is ridiculously like a drop in a very giant ocean. If I can start to get that seed across, why do I need to pay you back? Why
Universe.
do I need seriously?
Yeah, it's an exchange of energy. Remember? Coins, money, services in exchange for
That's Eon.
your
covered.
tokens.
South Bucks District Council. I can take my own trash out. I can start a fire. I've never called the police. And if I did, their response time is.
What you're saying
terrible.
is, you're not free.
No.
But it's called the social contract. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
You see, in the past, you were told what to do because you were a serf. You did what you were told, unless you were not a serf. Nowadays, we have a thing called the social contract. That is, we look after your streets, police, keep the services running and everything in exchange for money. That's the social contract.
Yeah.
Universe.
The universe, the single song.
Universe. A verse, though, implies not
Rhythm.
part of the whole. It's a
Rhythm.
verse.
Yeah, well, it would be, wouldn't it? Because there's no part.
Because there's multiple verses in a song.
Yeah, but when you sing a song, it's what comes next that counts.
Verse.
You hear people singing, you go, oh, that was nice.
But verse is also
doesn't exist
multiple.
anymore.
Verse is multiple words as well.
Yeah.
And then there was the word, but verse is multiple words.
You love it.
I love anything to do with
Universe.
words and sounds and vibrations and meanings.
So do you think there's other civilizations out there that are having this same conversation?
Could
About
be.
South Bucks District Council.
one, but the same kind of...
The point I'm
edgy-
trying to make is, and I made it at the beginning, is don't look for UFOs and people coming here in spaceships, which means that they're of material form and they haven't advanced. Okay? Look for people that are entities and intelligence that don't need a material form, because that's what each one of us is aspiring to be anyway.
So that's truly advanced civilizations.
Yes,
We
they wouldn't need a
even know they're
spaceship.
here.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah. The minute they're relying on a material...
But how
thing-
many times have you heard our ancestors tell us that? It's a spirit.
They're already walking amongst
Yes,
us.
it's a spirit. There's probably good spirits and bad spirits, but that's... Be careful, don't mess with them.
Yeah,
But they don't need spaceships,
no.
and nor do we, because we were talking about it earlier. How are you going to get off this place? You're going to get blasted by the sun. You've got no protection.
Yeah, right. We can't get past this. We can't get anywhere near the sun.
No.
I mean, this manned mission to Mars, I mean, I don't quite know how they expect to get
How would they want to do that
people
anyway?
alive to Mars, let alone back. 'cause
They
that's
think
all-
it did have life once, and it did have water. And that would make sense. And ours is where we are now. That's where life exists, because in material form we can function here because of the seasons and because of the sun and because of the moon. What would it be like without the moon? You'd have no tides.
Right.
And what would happen if you've got no moon to the core of the earth, which is fluid? You know, it's
Would
as
lose its
it's as
stability, would it?
well, it's as viscous as water.
Yeah.
So it has these plumes and everything that move around. Everything moves under the Earth's surface in the same way that the water moves on the top of the Earth's surface. So if there was no moon to pull the gravity of the crust of the Earth to keep that moving, what would it be like? It'd be a dead planet, like Mars.
So there's no way, because all these planets have moons.
Not Mars.
Most of the planets have moons. So that was an intelligent design. That can't all just be fluke. That a bit broke off and it stayed in our orbit.
Absolutely. What you're saying is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's organised.
Organised
It works.
chaos.
Yeah, it's
Big
an
Bang
organisation
theory
out of chaos.
organisation,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I fully believe that. Use that word, believe. But I fully believe that it's organised. I look at it.
It's too
Once you start
precise.
measure, it's
You're-
too precise.
You're describing a machine.
Yes.
Come and pull your thing so that you're at least going to be picked up on the mic, as I don't know if I'll be
It
able
is.
to
I'm
use
describing a
some of this.
machine.
It is. You are describing the workings of
Right here.
Yeah.
of a machine, not a
Yeah. And a tree's a machine.
randomness.
And you're a machine. It's what exists within the machine. that
A
counts.
leaf. When you look at what a leaf
a
does,
machine.
it's a machine.
Yeah.
Because the closest we're getting to a leaf is a solar panel, but
Yes.
we can't eat solar panels, and solar panels don't produce carbon monoxide. They just produce energy.
But it eats carbon monoxide, produces oxygen, or
Yeah.
it eats oxygen. It depends on whether it's night or day.
Yeah.
So global warming always bothered me from that point of view. We're in global warming 12,000 years ago. How come the sea levels rose 300 feet
Right.
and wiped out most of the history of civilizations? It tells you in the Bible there was a great flood, and only the people that survived the great flood were people that were at sea.
Right.
You know, you've got the North Sea now. That was a great tundra. If you go to Norfolk, you'll find bodies of woolly mammoths washed up and covered in sand. What a nightmare it must have been when the big ice dams broke and 1 and 2 kilometre high waves crashed across these flatlands which everybody lived on, all the animals lived on. The only people that survived was just like in the tsunamis you saw, the people out in the sea, because the wave went underneath them.
Right.
They were still in their boats. Well, you know, we're a seafaring species.
Is that just not nature just taking care of it like a cleansing?
Well,
Like it's going to happen again, isn't it? A global
yeah,
warming.
but you've got to ask a question, haven't you? And the question is, if we're having sea level rises now, that creeping on, people are worried about it, and they're building sea defences and so forth, and the people in the Far Islands out in the Pacific are frightened because the coral islands are going to go underwater. What caused the rise of the sea levels of 300 feet, okay,
Yeah, that's
100 metres, what is relatively a few thousand years ago? Well, it was that us putting out smokestack stuff. Did we
Yeah,
have
right.
huge industry, did we then? And then you talk about the mammoths in America and everything being wiped out by man. Are you kidding?
Right.
There was that many men then? You know, the whole of America was covered by thousands and thousands and millions of tribesmen running about killing woolly mammoths?
Right.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Nonsense. They'll do anything to explain what are just things that happen.
Natural occurrences.
There's the word nature again.
Yeah.
Nature caused it. Now, your choice. Is nature intelligent or stupid? Is it just cause and effect? And you're just a machine? Like I said before, there are very few atheists who really believe in what they're saying, because if they really believed in what they're saying and they thought we were just a machine that was here for a short period of time, they'd be too bloody depressed to stand up and talk about it, because what would be the point?
Yeah. And you've only got to experience an earthquake to know the real power of
Yeah,
nature and oozing control.
absolutely. But we're survivors. We
Yeah.
manage.
Yeah.
We get by.
Yeah.
And we only get by one way, and that's working together. Because, to be honest, a very small dog can take you apart. For all the muscle building he-men that you see pumping iron, you know, at the end of the day, small dog would have you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a
true,
warning
isn't
there
it?
to all small dog owners.
Yeah.
Don't
Of
take
which
Keep the
I
dogs
am
under
one.
control.
that thing anyway.
That's it. Because
Especially to a gym.
yeah. But in truth, we're not built with sharp teeth and claws
No.
and the ability to run like a cheetah or a lion. We're not built like that.
No.
The only way that we become a dominant species on Earth is tool making. And what my thing is about, tell you one of the tools we used to use to measure time and build pyramids and build that was a tool. It was scientific. We built boats and we built tools and we built sails and we hunted all the animals up and down. We followed the sun. We didn't have countries before we started agriculture. What we did was we went and picked the harvest wherever it was. So you're in the south of France for the winter. Well, check the old sun. When is it time we go up to Scotland to catch the herring or the mackerel? And when's the hazels come? When did the blackberries come out? What's the best place for it? Let's sail there. That's what we did.
Follow the sun.
Then it got wiped out by some cataclysm, which is probably exactly what it says in the Bible. Right? What it says in the Bible is God caused the flood. Well, let's change that. Nature caused the flood. That'll do. Okay. How did nature cause the flood? Well, what part of nature is cold or hot that affects our planet?
The waters?
The sun.
Sun.
The sun. You've got a huge furnace sitting in the sky. Great, this nuclear thing. You can say whether you think it's intelligent or not. But I tell you, if that warms up and gives a little puff in our direction, that would melt the ice.
Yep. That's all it needs. Solar
Yeah.
fire or something.
Yeah, so the last 10 years or so, we've been working on, or 15 years, I think, a lot of people have been pushing solar weather because the sun gives off these enormous storms and sunspots and stuff like that. Did our ancestors figure that out? Of course they did. The best way to figure out whether there's going to be good or bad weather is to count the sunspots. How do you count sunspots? Do you know?
No.
I'll tell you something that most people don't know. They sit in the garden underneath a tree and they get their feet on the ground and they're sitting there sipping away at a nice Prosecco or something like that, and all around their feet are little circles. As the sun shines down through the leaves of the trees, it throws little circles on the ground. Those little circles, if the measurement is absolutely right, perfect photographic image of the sun.
Oh, wow.
People see it every day and they don't know. But our ancestors had groves. They had sacred groves. So things like they would put a flat thing down and get the focus absolutely right, and they could count sunspots. So you got your great tombs in Ireland and stuff. Solstice sun, winter solstice, lines up perfectly on the back of this so-called barrow tomb or whatever. Hey man, you can count sunspots with that. Do it with your bedroom sun blind, you know. Just make a little slot or a crack or something that the sun can come through, and it's coming up in the morning or going down in the evening, right? And look at the sun, the picture of the sun on your back wall. It's called a camera obscura. So what they did is they would count if there were sunspots. Well, if it's sunspots, because there's a 12.5-year cycle of the sun, was 11.5-year cycle of the sun, that the sun gets busy and comes to a solar maximum every 11.5 years. So when that happens, and there's a lot of sunspots, you get bad weather, you get storms, you get earthquakes, you get all of that because the sun's causing it. And when the sun has no sunspots, it gets cold. The weather goes calm. So who knew that? Where's that in the Bible? Well, Joseph. His multicolored coat, because he was a Merlin, wasn't he? He was a magician. And he measured the sun and he measured the stars and he knew what he was doing because it tells you that in the Bible. And he went to the ignorant Pharaoh and said, your dream is telling you that your people are going to die and starve because the cattle are going to die and the wheat's not going to be there because there's going to be a cycle. Right? So what did he do? He told his Pharaoh, build these silos and store your grain. And then you'll have 7 years of famine, but you'll be okay. Mm-hmm. And his brothers, who sold him to the Pharaoh in the first place, were starving out there in the desert, came running in and were enslaved because they then owed for the food they had to eat. Mm. But Joseph knew what was going to happen because of sunspot cycles, and the Pharaoh was protected and his people because of it, and that's power.
Wow.
That story's there. But if you don't know about that you can see sunspots just by focusing the sun on the back of your wall, right, you wouldn't know how they did it.
No.
They measured cycles.
Wow.
So there's a sunspot cycle every 11.5 years, but there's a mega cycle over it. So you've got little cycles, okay, but they're all part of a big cycle. And they come to a big, massive solar maximum. Then everything gets cold and calm again. Little sunspot cycles every 11.5 years. It goes like this. That's what your global warming is. Mm. The sun's busy.
Right. Yeah. So it isn't emissions coming off of cow dung.
Well, it won't help, you know. I mean, we shouldn't make a mess of a garden.
No, it's probably not helping.
But I tell you what, the plants grow better alongside of a motorway than they do away from it.
Huh.
Why would that be?
Because they soak up carbon monoxide. It helps them grow.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And the oceans, right, they're full of algae, so you get more algae in the ocean, soaks up the CO2, and then it locks it because it gets into the algae, and the algae then falls to the floor of the ocean, and it's locked in limestone type arrangement. That becomes like that. So here, you know, some stupid flipping person said to me, well, you wouldn't get CO2 emissions out of volcanoes. Well, yes, of course you do. On the Ring of Fire, where the limestone goes underneath the plate and then it explodes up through a volcano, it's blowing stored up CO2 into the atmosphere from thousands of years, millions of years before. Look at the White Cliffs of Dover. Wow, that's a lot of CO2 locked up in that.
Yeah.
See? Methane, it's frozen. You can have a terrible accident if the methane underneath the Greenland and around there in the North Pole, if that were to warm up. Whoa. See the surface of the sea burning.
Yeah, methane. Good grief.
Yeah, but where did the methane come from? Rotting vegetation, cows, bison, whatever it was, dinosaur fart.
Right.
They just had the huge methane leak in California, in Los Angeles.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
100.
Took them forever to cap it.
I mean,
yeah, then you got all these people, you know, that going on about meteor strikes and stuff like that, and that's what happened on the west coast of America. Duh, haven't you seen the houses sinking into sinkholes? Duh.
I'm having snack bar myself.
Yeah? What about all the sinkholes that suddenly open up? Oh, that wasn't a meteorite.
Right.
Hey, strangely, these huge meteorite holes that came from the planet Nibiru, right, look just like sinkholes to me. What they look like to you?
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than reason and common sense, is there?
There's,
I know, and you always know it is, because you just think, oh, yeah, that's it.
The sea levels rose because it tells you in the Bible the sun is God, and God, because they were a solar worshipping people, right? God caused the sea levels to rise by breaking out the water that was held. And you forget something else, you know. Where is up? That's in my book. Where is up? You think up's above your head. Where is it really in terms of if you think of yourself as part of the planet Earth?
Yeah.
It's the North Pole. So then they say, right, well, you know, there's the firmament and there's the water in between. Heaven. Well, of course there is, because between here, Egypt, and the North Pole is the Mediterranean. Get your perspective right.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Firmament, sea, heaven.
Oh, yeah.
So the only way to heaven's through the North Pole,
Right.
because you're part of a planet that points north and south.
Right.
So when you're standing about here, that's not up, that's out.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. Yeah. So we're on the cusp of out.
Yeah, 52 degrees latitude.
Yeah.
I wonder if it makes any difference to your consciousness where you pointed.
Yeah.
Would it feel more comfortable?
Well, you
if were
become more
pointed
aware,
up?
wouldn't you, if you knew you were part of the Earth?
Do you think there's some, well, there's got to be some benefit to getting reconnected with the earth?
Sure,
Taking
look,
shoes
the
off?
human form is built just like a plumb line. You'll know that if you ever get vertigo, because vertigo is did you get it? Have you ever had a spinning room vertigo? So have I, and it's scary. I thought I was having a brain hemorrhage. Anyway, so it's little hairs, and the fluid touches the hairs and tells you which way up you are. And if you get a tiny crystal or something in it and it touches the hairs the wrong way, it'll spin you right around like that, upside. The whole room will go upside down, okay? Because our ears are perfect plumb lines. We learn by the age of about 1 year old where up and down is.
Yeah.
But the plumb line isn't up and down in that sense. The plumb line's pointing at the centre of the Earth. So we are always, wherever we are, orientated to the centre of the Earth.
That's why when you get a baby,
Mechanical.
first of all, and they go, oh, hold the baby, and you're like, hold its head, hold its head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just
Flopping
going
about.
around
Yeah.
like a rag doll.
Yeah, don't do
Right,
that
I'm
to me.
uncomfortable
Scary.
with this. Take it
Don't
back.
give me your baby.
Yeah, until it knows what's up and down.
I've always been like that with babies. Terrified of holding them, kiss
It
and
is,
drop
that
them.
whole thing, the head just...
Don't know where I am,
What's wrong
man.
with this thing?
My God, I mean, just so much information.
Too much, isn't it?
No.
Imagine having that all in my head. It's not fair.
Well, for
Yeah.
you, yeah, but you've written a book, which is excellent.
Yeah, I need to write another one, but you know what happens? It's just there's so much. But something like this is good because you ask questions and then you go along and it takes you along a theme and then you could go, yeah, I could write about that. Let's forget about the other stuff.
I mean, what's your overall biggest advice then for people who would read your book so that they don't go into a mad giant tailspin? Where should people be putting their attention to live a happy life?
I'd still say what the Dalai Lama said. Happiness is the pursuit of happiness that counts.
Be pursuing things that make you happy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
does it make you happy to make other people happy?
Oh, well, that's good. We're doing that.
I feel like
Here you are.
Yeah.
even though I feel lost at the moment, midlife crisis or whatever that is, but I am
You're too young to have one of them.
pursuing,
I'm kidding.
I am pursuing my happiness. Like the
Yeah.
things I do make me happy.
Yeah, I'm definitely pursuing.
Yeah.
what
I think
want.
one of the things is, I like what Jesus said, right, was consider the lilies of the field. Neither do they toil, nor do they sow, but they're always fed. I like that.
But isn't that kind of like saying be an unemployed person?
No. What it means is do what you're supposed to do and you'll be given to.
Ah.
So you might be in the depths of depression, okay? And then just when you need it, and you'll never get more than you need. Not what you want, what you need, right? a letter will come through the letterbox, or something will happen, or the phone will go, and something will happen that's positive, and you're given to.
But just enough for you to get out of that and move on.
But do
Well,
what you're
what do you
supposed to
want?
do.
Yeah.
Be the
Do it
lily.
yeah.
If you're a lily, be a lily.
Yeah,
No
that's
offense.
it.
You might be a lily.
So we go back round, don't we? No, but we go.
Best lily ever.
No, but you got to go back round to it. You know, we were talking about that earlier on, I think. The lily in the field. Oh, I've forgotten what I was going to say now.
Well, you're saying do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, follow your own gifts. Don't you see the children? You know, they're put into school, and they're told in uniforms, and that was a whole system that was designed to breed children to either go to war or to work in a factory. And it still actually exists.
Yeah, it does.
So what happens is you will conform with the uniform and how you're supposed to be, right? Then your talent is missed, and you miss your own talent because you're desperate to fit in.
Right.
So you're desperate to fit in with what your peer group and your parents and everything expect you to be formed as. So you lose your talent. The best thing that could ever happen is you didn't go to school,
Yeah.
but you were dumped in a library every week. Go and pick what you want to read.
Right. Yeah.
And be sovereign, be in control of your own life.
Yeah. Yeah, you're already dressing like everyone else.
Yeah.
So your mindset is,
Oh.
I have to be like everyone else.
Yeah, I
We all
remember the
have to
punk
learn.
rock days, you know, and I was killing myself laughing at them trying to be independent, all looking the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the lily is a very attractive flower.
It is. Very
So-
smelly, and it ruins your clothes if
It's
you get
got a
any
lot
stains on
of,
it.
s-
Purple thing on the end, don't sniff that.
but it's got a lot of stuff going for it, the lily.
Now you're thinking. You see, that's really important. I suppose if that sounds a bit patronising, but flowers meant a great deal to people in the ancient times. If you look at medieval drawings and things like that, every single flower and its colour had a meaning. We've lost that.
That's what's in Aurosoma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The intelligence of the 49 herbs and flowers in the
But it's a
essences.
language. So a yellow rose meant something, a red rose meant something, if you're on the simplest terms. But each individual, freesia meant something. A lily was something you never took in a hospital, ever. A white lily. It's the death flower. Even now they won't let you take them in.
Won't they?
No.
Oh, wow. I
Banned.
didn't know that.
Wow. Oh, but they're probably banned because they cause allergies.
No.
Because they have a
No.
strong fragrance.
Okay.
They're
we got
banned
the one
because
because
it's a
they're the
depressive
death
thing to put in
flower.
a death flower.
Yeah, you
Funeral
don't-
flower.
You don't give those and go get well soon.
So each flower had a message. Each piece of a tapestry had a message. Each piece of cloth had a message, the meaning on it. Kilts in Scotland, tartans, Hebridean sweaters with the friendship bands. Everything had a message. Nothing ever is made that wasn't for a reason.
It's not arbitrary.
No. And so when people nowadays, young people and things, go past a church, they see a cross or something like that, they go, oh, well, that's just a religious symbol. Don't be stupid. It means something. What does it mean?
But when you say about the lily, just be the lily and
Yeah.
don't do anything because you'll get fed. The thing is, though,
Didn't say don't do anything.
what did you say? Just be a lily. Be a lily.
No, consider the lilies of the field. Neither do they toil or sow.
Well, they just are.
Yeah, and it had to do with, it also had to do with the Sabbath, you know, because he was out doing stuff on the Sabbath. Because he's working. He and his disciples were working, they were preaching. But we shouldn't be preaching on a Sunday. We're working. It's God's work.
I just wonder if the
Huge
lily,
depth in the teaching, isn't there?
the lily would have an advantage, though, because it's a very attractive flower with a very strong smell. So
Ah, yes.
other flowers
Is
might
that a
not
strong
fare.
smell? Was that an attractive and strong smell, the lilies of the field?
Yeah, it would draw people to them. The smell of the lilies would draw people over, and then they might be inclined to go, oh, should we give them some water? Because they would find the lilies.
Or do we find what they have worth listening to?
And then they probably would pick the lilies and take them for their own home so they could take the fragrance with them.
Wouldn't just be exclusive to a lily, though.
Well, that's what I was thinking,
Flowers
because
in
lilies,
general.
but other flowers.
The question is really important, isn't it? Because are you attracting people to listen to you?
Well, a lily's going to attract more than a lot of other flowers because it has a strong fragrance.
There you go. Is what we're doing got a strong fragrance?
So we've got a strong
What you're doing
message.
now, yeah, definitely is a strong fragrance. It's drawing people to listen to
It's
it.
a vibration of information, which is what a scent is. It's a vibration of information. That is what a fragrance is.
See, haven't I read somewhere, like, isn't the flower the only thing that doesn't have a purpose? A flower. Isn't it just a thing of beauty?
It has a purpose.
Because
You have to
bees
look at
go
it
to it.
in ultraviolet and infrared, and you'll see there's a landing path for bee. Oh, man, a bee's incredible. Look, each flower has stamen on it. You know this, don't you?
You'll bring back childhood
Right, okay.
teachings.
Each flower has stamens on
Yeah.
it. And on the stamens is male or female pollen. So the idea is that the bee will fly in, attracted for the nectar and pollen in some cases, and it's like a landing track. It's attractive to the bee, so it lands on it. And as it goes in, this little stamen comes over and just dabs the pollen in the right place. And then it flies off to another plant of the same species, goes in, and the stamen comes out and picks the pollen up, and that pollinates the flower.
Wow.
Right? That's not as remarkable as finding out that each flower has a different shaped stamen, so it puts the pollen on a different part of the bee so they can't get mixed up.
Wow.
Oh,
Bloody
that's
hell.
accidental, isn't it? Duh.
Right. And so is that the bees' only purpose? When they say if bees go...
Well, no, the bee's purpose is to pollinate.
Right.
And it gets a reward for pollinating.
With
So
the
that
honey.
means that all the plants can live.
Right.
Yeah, and if the bees died, the honeybee, no, there's bumblebees and there's humblebees and there's different kinds of hoverflies and there's flies
They all
and all sorts. All pollinate.
Yeah.
Every type of flying creature, including hummingbirds, they pollinate. So they go into flowers and spread the pollen from one to the other. But the plant can't exist without the bee, and the bee can't exist without the plant because both are the same.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
both of the same.
When you say it like that, they're so... Again, it's a machine. It's like,
yeah.
pop it on that side
Yeah.
and then we'll pick it up on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a problem with the bees right now because of the cellular technology.
Yeah.
It's messing up the bees and it's making them not go back to their homes in some
They
cases.
get confused and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But, you know, in Britain, there are too many beekeepers and too many hives. And they're right in the middle of London and everything. They pollinate throughout the parks and on roof things, you know, on roof gardens and everything. Huge amount of beekeeping going on.
Wow.
And there isn't an issue with plants being pollinated. Beehive 3 miles from home. They can do a 3-mile radius. You know, it's only the wind and the rain that stops them.
That's quite a lot, isn't it? 3 miles.
Millions,
from the
yeah, massive. Massive, 3 miles for that tiny thing to go.
bee. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about butterflies? Because they're being screwed up by
Some
cell
butterflies
phones
are,
as
some
well.
aren't.
A lot
Some,
of
yeah,
species are dying.
some are, some aren't. I've seen butterflies out last week, so that was just as the spring equinox came in. The yellow ones were out first, and
It's amazing.
then we got. There's a particular. I don't have a photograph of it. You'd love it though. But there's one butterfly that you can see mimics, and this really is an epitome of how clever nature is. There's a butterfly that if you look at it, it's got eyes on it. So it's red and it's got eyes on it. I'm trying to remember the name. It's not a red admiral. It's the other one that looks like that. But its body looks like the nose of a cat. Okay? So when it settles on flowers, it turns so that its antennae and its hairy body are down and its wings are open to catch the sun, but also have eyes on it. And it's got 2 sets of eyes. It's got one for daylight, so they don't realize but they would reflect the eyes of a daylight hunting animal. And the bottom pair reflect a night hunting animal, which
Wow.
is slit eyes.
Good
Okay.
grief.
So when you look at it in that light, you see a cat or a fox or a weasel. Now then, that's not the clever bit. The clever bit is that that butterfly never gets eaten by birds. So what you've got is a butterfly that's made itself look like a weasel to stop a bird eating it. That's a three-way game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was accidental, was it? I think what you're looking at there is a butterfly, and I will look at the butterfly when it's sitting there, and it looks like animals that no longer exist if you actually look at it. I'm saying cat and weasel, but it actually looks like it could have been something way back in the Ice Age or whatever.
Right. It's been extinct.
Have a
now.
look. I ain't kidding you. You're going to look at this butterflies, go look at it on the thing, and just think to yourself, what does it look like to a bird? And you'll go, wow. No wonder the birds don't mess with that butterfly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
There's wasps in Central America where they come out of the ground and they were talking about pollination, and they mate with the females. But there's plants that grow alongside that have a perfect mimic copy of the wasp. And it's built in such a way that it flops about like the wasp, but it's so strong, the stamen, that the flower won't break. So it looks like a wasp, yeah? The male wasp leaps on it, tries to mate with it, and pollinates the flower. I'm going, wow, nature actually made a flower that looks an exact replica of this male wasp.
That's freaky.
Yeah.
That's looking
That's
at nature.
intelligence. That's intelligence, isn't it?
We've all got to get back to nature.
Not according to the atheists.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to get back to nature.
You got to look at what it makes. You know, people that get stoned and stuff and take drugs and stuff, it was all about shame and taking drugs, you know. They didn't need to. There was no need to get high. Just looking at nature made you high.
Did you ever do a shamanic walk, drinking or taking
Never.
peyote?
No,
Anything like that?
never, wouldn't either. And the reason is because it distorts your brain. And I want my brain to function as it was made. That's really important. So I think, yeah, some shaman people, they did that because they couldn't see. So they thought if they took these kind of drugs and enhancing things and insect poison and stuff like that, that would help them see. But how better is it for a genuine shaman to be able to see without enhancing anything?
Barefoot. That's what I would go. Get in touch with
Feel the
nature
soil.
again.
Yeah, getting in
Feel the
touch with
earth under
nature.
We don't do that anymore, do we? We're all
Yeah,
all
you
in
can do
shoes.
that.
But yeah.
You can
The
do that.
answers are out there.
Yeah,
They were there all along.
they're also in here.
And we just have to pay attention.
You know when you go, I felt that was right. That's when you know truth.
Well, it's like when you speak. When you first spoke, when we first met you a few weeks back, it was just like, somehow I knew that.
That's it. That's the point. You're
It's
being
like
reminded.
It's not new information. It's not like, oh. And it was
yeah.
such an ease of acceptance of it. There was no
Yeah,
resistance.
you already knew it.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah,
like, oh, well,
Yeah, I knew that.
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about it, and I wasn't the one who wrote a book about it or unlocked any of it. But in my head, I was like,
yeah.
yeah, that's
I
it.
knew that. You can go into a church or a cathedral now and you go, I know that.
I know that.
And I've had fishermen come out, North Sea fishermen up in Aberdeen come out and see my cross for the first time and go, well, that's common sense. I knew that. But I've never seen it before.
But when my auntie talks about burning bushes and giants, and I'm like, I didn't know that, and I don't believe it.
Maybe your aunt needs it. Yeah,
That's
the thing
right.
is not to take away from
Well,
No,
people
that's
what
the
they
right.
need.
needs it.
And she had a terrible tragedy happen to her.
That'll do it.
You know?
And that's what we recognise.
Yeah,
It's
so-
like, for her it works, and I think as long as people are happy, I think pursue the happy.
Absolutely. And so one of the things I don't like when people have had trauma, right, is this counselling. Because counselling often is, if you cut yourself, it hurts like hell. but you get a scab on it, and eventually the scab, and there's a scar and so forth. Don't pick the scab off.
I might have to disagree with you there.
That's how I feel.
I had some traumas and they were dealt with in counselling and therapy, and it was very healthy and enabled me to get on with my life.
You had a good counsellor.
I did have a very good
Give you a chance
proper
to
psychiatrist.
Talk. A chance to talk.
Oh yeah, proper talk
you
therapy.
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they ask you the right questions so you figure it out yourself and you heal. You are your own removing of the Band-Aid to let the wound get to fresh air almost.
Yeah. But be careful scratching people's scabs, because sometimes they're so bad. And that came out of what I just said. You know, if that comfort after such a tragedy, maybe it's better kept.
Yes,
the wound's better kept covered.
Yeah.
You've got to be so careful.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not making judgments. I'm just saying I'm obviously cautious about what I would talk about with somebody in that way. All I've got to offer, I guess, is this is what your ancestors did, and that's why they wrote the things they did.
Yeah. What you interpret and what you believe in.
Yeah, terrible word, that belief, isn't it?
Belief.
Means without knowledge. I believe means without knowledge.
I thought you said it meant with love.
Be love.
By love.
By love means without knowledge.
But you don't necessarily have to think by love means without knowledge. You're interpreting that, right? By love equals without knowledge.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't necessarily think that, because love is a strong emotion which carries information in it. So by love would actually be quite a strong sentiment. And you're even saying, do what you love. Do the pursuit that you love. So by love would be a correct path. I.e. belief.
By love.
By love.
That's all it means. Yeah.
Look it up in the dictionary.
I will look it up in the dictionary. I'm going to look up sound.
If it says knowledge next to...
It won't. That's it. You're right. My interpretation.
Look it up in the dictionary, Webber.
I think it's about, do you want to know?
Right. Well, it's about certainly understanding all these options that you can then use your own discernment to see what works best for you.
Yeah, and you might go, right, I know that now, and that might have been a burden to me all my life, one area or another, I don't know. Right, I know that now, I can do what I did with the paper. Now I can live.
Yeah.
There might be a lot of strength to believe. Because, I mean, if it's by love, a mother looks after her child because she loves him.
Without knowledge.
Yeah.
Just does.
She just does it by love. The love gives
The baby
her...
comes out, you don't get a document telling you all about the baby.
Was it?
going,
Yeah, no,
statistics.
that's right.
Oh, hang on, it's got two.
There's a big argument there,
this.
because actually then you can interpret something about love. Okay? Sacrifice. Why would you give up your time and everything for a helpless other human being? Why would you?
Well, you might enjoy looking after it
Is it a sacrifice?
and find it rewarding, like growing a plant.
Yeah? Or is it also a sacrifice?
It depends what way you look at it.
Well, it does,
But
doesn't
it might be a sacrifice that you're more than happy to do. Because you love. So
good.
by
It's a good
love,
debate.
the love outweighs the sacrifice, usually in the situation of a mother and a child. But I think the love carries knowledge.
But you see, that is by design as well.
Yes.
Because we are then built with this unconditional love without fact or knowledge that when something comes out of you, that you will have this bond that you will sacrifice and look after this person without any prior knowledge or anything else.
Nature.
Fluffy toys with big eyes.
Because it's not like, you imagine that the baby, and it does happen sometimes. Sometimes nature does have a problem and the mother doesn't love the child and gives it away.
Yep.
So, but that's not a common thing. So that is, again, got to be by design, because why would you give up years and years and years of your life and time for something that you don't love?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And it's about response, isn't it? Because, as I said about the fluffy toys with big eyes, why do we go for fluffy little animals with big eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's encoded into
It's
us to
encoded
respond.
into us to respond.
And look at the sea turtle. She will go on a beach, lay her eggs, and bugger off.
Yeah, job done.
Never see her children ever again. Maybe. It's a big ocean.
It's interesting.
So that's different. So it's not throughout nature. It's a loss of nature, but they're, snakes are the same. They'll have...
Well, you know what the Indians say, don't you? The whole thing is the idea of Krishna, okay, and show me your face. Well, I don't think you could handle seeing my face, because it's back to something we said earlier. And God then showed all his faces and her faces all at once, from the most terrible to the most beautiful. Because the Indian Hindu religion isn't about many gods. It's about one God with many faces. And that's the interesting bit, which you come back to your turtles and how do we respond to a fluffy toy, and why does a crocodile look after its young in its mouth? Most ferocious creature.
Most dangerous part of it.
And when it's dangerous, they all swim into behind its teeth, and it smiles. The mum looks after the baby crocodile in its mouth. I'll tell you what it's about. That side of it is right, because that's about an investment in the future for yourself.
Yeah, again, it's a built-in passing of knowledge.
Yeah.
If I look after this baby one of me, it will grow into me, and it preserves the species.
And the point about the preserving of species is what the Red Indians did. So when they would kill a buffalo or a deer, they would pray thank you to the great spirit of the deer for sacrificing one of its own so they might live.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think that's one of your big things with animal cruelty, isn't it? That it's just this machine factory process now.
Horrible.
There's no
Chicken farms. Hate them.
Yeah.
I think if
There's no respect to the animal anymore.
But there won't be, because you've got so many mouths to feed.
That's right.
You know, you've got to look around you and say, right, in the old days, people would have maybe 3, 4, 5 acres. That would support the family. And then the neighbours would have 4 or 5 acres. Nowadays, they have gardens the size of this room. You can't support yourself on that. So they need to be fed. Okay, so how do you feed all these people? Yeah? There you get junk in your food, and then there's been rows about that. And then there's, what do you call it? Growth hormones in the calf's ear. And
Yeah.
which comes full circle
yeah.
to you're a tall guy.
Yeah, but I didn't. I got badly fed when I was young. So I'd have
We've
been
come
twice
full
the size.
circle.
Full circle.
And it only took 4 hours and
Was
8
that fun?
minutes. Yeah, the whole thing's been fantastic. Yeah.
I think what I liked when I was up talking on the stone circles was being able to have everybody around looking at a stone circle and say, you can't see it, but that star sign is behind the sun right now. And your ancestors would have known that because they lived to what was there the night before. And then suddenly it becomes alive. Hang it, it's 5,000 years old, but nobody stood here and looked at it like this for such a long time.
Yeah, because you said that the Stonehenge is used at night to measure stars.
It is.
And yet we're not allowed in it at night.
No, well, you've got to ask whether that's...
By design.
Yeah, is that a pen?
Pencil.
Proper one?
Yeah, it's like a big piece of coloured pencil.
You've got a bit of paper? This is for you. Okay. So what you've got, I'm going to have to draw it this way.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Okay.
This is Stonehenge.
This is Stonehenge. And then you've got all the other stuff around it, right? Okay. So when you stand there at night, it's dark, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yes.
You're in the northern hemisphere at about 52 degrees. So when you're standing in there, you're looking up at the sky.
Yeah.
Okay. When you look up at the sky, you can see the. Do you know what this is? Don't you?
Trillium.
That's a fleur de lis.
Oh, fleur de lis.
Okay, it means the flower of life. Okay, but it always is pointing north on every chart, ancient and modern. Well, not even more anywhere, but because it points to the north, and that's north is where energy comes in and goes out of the solar system. That's the reason that it's called the flower of life, and it's a royal symbol, and it's French, fleur de lis. And when you stand here looking up, it's like looking up through that. So what you've got is all your star signs around you, okay? But right in the middle, above your head, is the dragon. The dragon that you can see looking up. It's like that.
Like an S, kind of.
Yeah, that's its forked tongue, and that's what it's like. That's the North Pole of the Sun, okay? And back in the time when they built Stonehenge, that was the North Pole of the Earth.
Okay.
So what happens is, as each hour goes by, that moves around 1 degree. Just like that. No different.
Okay.
Okay? So now if you're looking up through this clock you've made, you can tell the time. But it's so big, that circle, okay, that you can tell it to the minute.
Wow.
But you can also tell, with that sign, what day of the year it is. So for instance, that's the winter solstice, it's pointing north. That's the spring equinox. Its head is upside down, right, at the, wait a minute, get it right, that, yes, spring equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, its head's pointing there.
So
That's what he's
so you're following the head of
following the head as it goes round.
dragon.
Yeah. So think about it. The Earth's going around the sun, and that's
Yeah.
the North Pole of the sun. So as it goes round, the aspect changes for the
Right.
speed we're going around the sun. They didn't necessarily know that the Earth was going around the sun. It doesn't matter. It's the relationship between the head of the dragon and the sun that counts.
Right.
Because all it's doing is ticking like a clock.
Does
that make sense?
So amazing that they
Common
recognise
sense.
that, isn't
Well,
it?
what else were you? Don't watch telly.
No.
There's no Coronation
I mean, the
Street.
stars would have been
When you're a
spectacle,
druid.
wouldn't they?
Absolutely,
To
and
behold
fabulous,
at night.
and then you've got the Milky Way going through there and all sorts. But now I'm going to tell you why the Pharaoh has a serpent on his forehead. Because he's God, representative God on earth, right? So since he's in control of life and death, you can have the serpent's head here, and your beard is the serpent's tail. Right? So when Eve was tempted by the serpent, God said, from now on, you will crawl along with the dust in your belly. Yeah? Now, Egypt, if you go and look at it now, because of precession of the equinoxes, because it's changed position, when it gets to this position, it drags its tummy along the ground
Oh.
on the horizon.
Oh, really?
Wow.
But if you run the computer programs back another 1,000 years, it's up in the sky.
Yeah.
Because the Earth's wobbling.
Right.
Okay, it's going through like this. So the aspect of the dragon is when it's there, it's up in the sky. When it's there, its tummy's dragged along the ground. It would take another 12,000 years for it not to.
Gosh.
There it is.
Why was it considered a sin for her to have the apple? Like, why was that
Knowledge.
considered
Are
bad?
you glad you know what you know?
What you've just told me
Yeah.
in this interview about all the time and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
You're
I
glad.
feel empowered
Okay.
by it.
God wouldn't have liked being a pharaoh. Get it? Guy with a beard. God wouldn't have liked you to know that.
Oh, right. Got it. Right.
Got it?
Our false God who's sort of
Yeah.
ruling us. Our
Yeah.
knowledgeable measurer.
Yeah.
Right.
Our knowledgeable measurer wouldn't like you to know.
How to measure. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Got it.
So he tells the story that it's bad.
So how many times have you heard about Ezekiel's wheels?
Now I'm going to be honest with you here. I have not heard about
Have you
Ezekiel's
heard about
wheels.
Ezekiel's wheels?
No.
That's in the Bible anyway. A lot of people think it's UFOs,
Oh.
right? Because what they say is, okay, there's this wheel of creatures which come down to the earth and then rises above it.
But these are the zodiacs, right? Of the star constellations.
Exactly. But people think it's UFOs because it's creatures peering out of circles and rising above the earth and rising below. I just showed you that's how it works.
The serpent.
Yeah, the serpent's the king one, and there's ones around it like the swan, Cygnus, and things like that. And those four creatures, right, go round and round all the time. But they go to the earth and they rise above it.
Right.
But it's wheels within wheels because there's another wheel there, okay? So if you can imagine, here's the earth, all right? And what you've got is a wheel there, and you've also got a wheel round the middle of it. So that's your tropical zodiac, and that's your imperishable stars in which that. So astrology should operate with two sets of astrological data. This circle above the earth and this circle around it. So when you look south, then what you'll see at night is you'll see the zodiac signs going past. When you look north, you'll see another wheel in the sky. And it's that wheel which is that.
The
That's
serpent,
the one.
the Draconis.
Yeah. And why would you be afraid of the serpent? Because it tells you how long you're going to live. You're going to die under that serpent. So sometimes you'll see things like the cross with a snake pinned to it. That's our knowledge.
Ah, that's the medical sign, isn't it? The cross.
It's all scientific, but it has side effects into philosophy and spirituality, doesn't it? It's not just all scientific, it's together. You know, like your left and right brain should work and function properly, in balance. Your whole life should be in balance.
What's interesting as well with stars is that they're an unknown life expectancy, aren't they? Like
They're
our
about all
own
gone
sun.
by now.
Yeah.
Could be
they're-
dead millions
I
and
know,
millions of years
that's
ago.
what's so incredible, that they could be so far away that their light's still reaching us for thousands of
Yeah.
years, and yet it's not even there.
Yeah,
That's those kind of things is where my mind's
but
blown.
they do call them the fixed stars for timekeeping and measurement. They're pretty fixed.
Which means they must still exist to a point.
Interesting about existence, isn't it?
I know.
The only thing that exists is the light that hits your eye
Right.
at that moment.
Right. Which does not prove whether those are constant sources of light still.
And let us not forget that we're only seeing less than 1% of what's actually there.
Yeah.
And the majority of what's there, we don't know because we can't see it and we can't hear
So, I
it.
mean, technically, that light could, those star constellations could just all of a sudden disappear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here today, gone tomorrow. Yeah.
They could just, that's it. That,
Yeah,
the
but
light's
so could the sun.
finished. That's it.
Yeah. Was it 4 minutes? The sun goes before you'd know it was gone.
4 minutes. Yeah. And that's going to be a big super.
Or is it 9?
thing, isn't it?
4 or 9.
That's where it's going to expand and
That's what they
absorb
say.
the whole solar system, and then
Yeah.
so I mean that's not going to expand
Red
that much
dwarf.
before we're toast anyway.
You know, guys, we are going to have to wrap this up. I know that we could start camping. We could start camping and keep Crichton here forever. We might have to have him back.
Well, yeah.
We might have to have you back because I don't think we're going to have time to do the film.
It's like having this library
Great wisdom.
of old and
Terrible, isn't it?
wisdom
How
sitting
did that
here,
happen
you're
to
like,
me?
oh, I've got another life-changing
Well,
question.
why don't we get Crichton back and do the on-camera one? The on-camera one. Maybe we will do an on-camera one with Crichton Miller, and you can see him actually operating his Celtic cross. Sorry for the abrupt ending there, but you know, this was, as I said, it was uncharted territory. I'd love to know what you thought about this. If you want more bonus extras in the future, what did you think? Did you hate it? Did you like it? Write to me. I'm very reachable on thegreyescape.com or on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/thegreyescape. And I've actually started to get a bit more active on Twitter lately. And some great people have been writing to me. I love my Twitter timeline, reading what you guys are posting. It's really, really awesome. If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at @thatNatalieGray. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. I'm going to see you on that stats page with your little colorful faces all over the picture of the globe. Thank you guys, and I'll catch you next time on The Grey Escape.